Your story matters, don't let it fade. When everything changed, you were made.
When everything changed, I wasn't in crisis. I was sitting comfortably at my desk chair, having a conversation with an AI chatbot. A conversation about imposter syndrome and why I deserve to be on this stage. Because I have many when stories in my life, but none of them individually seemed like what I wanted to share. And while they were hugely impactful at the time, I felt like they seemed small now. The irony of it is that that conversation became my when story. What the chatbot gave me was a sentence, but it was more than a sentence, it was a mirror. It said, "You grew up with quiet limitations that shaped how small you thought you had to be." And when I read that line, tears started streaming down my face. Because that line not only described my life, it reframed it. Because I realized that every when story, every obstacle I had overcome, every time I found the silver lining and pushed on, all of those things were stories of resilience and tenacity. But they were also stories of me thinking bigger and becoming who I could be. That's when everything changed, not when something broke, but when something broke open. You see, I did grow up with limitations. My world was very small and it didn't stretch at all. It wasn't as if I couldn't dream big, but it was as if those dreams weren't meant for me. There was nobody telling me, you can't dream big, you can't do that. But there was also nobody saying, hey, this is who you could be. This is what you could do. Let me show you the way. So I stayed small, without even realizing I was small. And I lived life the way I knew how. I survived. I carried everything without dropping it. I pushed through. I persevered. But living a life that way makes you an expert at holding things together, but a stranger to yourself. At some point, I started seeing signs and invitations. At age 45, I walked away from a 23-year marriage. But more importantly, I was walking into possibility. At 48, I went back to college. I didn't just take one class, I took 11 classes at 4 different schools in my first semester. And at the same time, I started a business, and I named it the Art of Tenacity. Because I felt I had earned it, but also because I knew I was making bold moves, and I knew there were many more bold moves to come. I've reinvented myself more times than I'd like to admit. I've left jobs that looked perfect on paper. I've chosen paths that didn't make sense to anyone but me. A lot of the decisions I made may have looked like failure from the outside. But they weren't failure. They were growth. They were me becoming who I could be. There's this myth that starting over means something went wrong. But what if starting over is just part of becoming? Sometimes tenacity isn't just holding on. Sometimes it's letting go. Letting go of titles and timelines and things that make you feel off inside. That's the art of tenacity, So if you've ever felt like you're behind, like you want more, that your nervous system needs a reboot, let this be your permission slip. You are not broken. You are ready to step up to the next version of you. You're on your way to becoming your best self. Making a change, making the change itself, isn't the hard part. The hard part is answering all the shoulds. You should stay where you are. You should be content and happy. You should be grateful. And who says you're not grateful? Because it looks good to them. It's familiar. It's responsible. It's respectful. They see the outward stability, the Facebook pictures, the LinkedIn profile. They don't see the internal struggles, the yearning for something more, for wanting to become more and do more. All of those reinventions, I don't regret. They've all been a part of me becoming who I am. I didn't fail. Sometimes I outgrew. Where I am now, people are still telling me, you're doing it wrong. Why did you leave financial planning? Why aren't you chasing high net worth clients? And when they say that, I tell them, I'm doing it exactly right. Because I know that I'm serving the versions of me that I once was. As a financial educator and personal growth coach, I serve all of the versions of me. I was that teen mom, balancing my checkbook and filing my taxes on my own before I was old enough to vote. I was a married mother of 3, holding everything together. I was a mom newly divorced, in chaos, trying to figure out my finances. I had people that were supposed to be helping me, but they weren't talking to me like a human. They were just doing their business. That sounds bad. They were just doing their jobs. But they were not serving me the way I needed to be served. I needed someone to tell me, this is what you need to know. This is what you need to do. This is the way it works. And teach me about those things that I didn't know. So if you've ever felt like you're behind, you're not. If you ever felt like you wanted more, you're allowed. Because becoming isn't a one-time event. It's a lifelong process. And you get to keep doing it as many times as you want. That's the art of tenacity. Thank you.
Your story matters.